Teachers, teachers and trainers, professors and professionals, those who are listening, watching from the field of arts, commerce, engineering and science, the most honorable President Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, respected ministers and doctors, honorable advocates, advertisers, administrators and advisors, fathers and mothers, affectionate sons and daughters. From USA, heartily, cordially welcome all of you. It is really nice time, nice place, nice section you are listening. The truth of science and spirituality from language to literature. Dear friends, as you have read Foundation for Success, not so secret ingredient. There is a story behind it. A surgeon is looking forward to his daughter's wedding, a once in a lifetime event. The proud father, all dressed up, is welcoming the guest. Suddenly, the phone rings. Doctor, we have an accident victim, hair bleeding profusely. We tried to reach the other doctors in town, but no one is available. If you don't get here immediately, he will die. What does the bride's father do? The answer is, he goes. Does this mean he loves his daughter any less? Not at all. When our value system is clear, decision making becomes a lot easier. Even though they may not be easy decisions. Ethics plays a great role in providing foundation for success. Ethics is a commitment to a higher order of moral values and an ability to distinguish right from wrong. People who are ethical are scrupulously honest. Ethical people set standards in behavior and maintain the trust and respect of those around them, even at their own expense. They never compromise their ethical standards for material gains. Ethical behavior can be compared to the air we breathe in. Air is crucial to our life on earth, but we never pay any attention to it until we begin to have trouble breathing. Similarly, we tend to take ethical behavior for granted until it's missing from our lives and we fall victims to unethical behavior. All of us should want to do the right thing. Doing what is right builds one's self-confidence. Ethics and how we practice them give meaning to our lives. Clear values reflect ethical decisions. The easier decisions in life are between right and wrong. The tougher decisions are between what's right and what's more right. A choice between right and more right automatically makes more right as most appropriate and less right as inappropriate. Dear friends, be available, keep continued presence please. Conscience. What is conscience? There was a robber who amassed a lot of ill-gotten wealth. One day he went to a teacher who had a reputation of great character and asked, "How can I attain happiness? I have lots of wealth and 500 thieves ready to obey me, but somehow I still feel incomplete and empty." The teacher led him to the base of a hill. And pointing to three large stones, asked the robber to carry them and follow him up the hill. The robber could hardly move and said, "I cannot follow you with this heavy burden." So the teacher asked the robber to drop one stone. After going a little distance, the robber to drop one stone. After going a little distance, the robber found it impossible to go up the hill with the two heavy stones. The teacher asked him to drop one more, and the same thing happened with the third one, and then the robber was able to easily follow the teacher to the top of the hill. The teacher said, "Deviating from the path of righteousness does cause a heavy conscience. Just as you could not climb the hill with the burden of the heavy stones, you cannot achieve happiness if you go through life carrying a heavy conscience." How true! Whenever we go against our values, our conscience gets burdened. Stress level goes up. Insecurity comes in. Ignoring conscience long enough kills it, eventually making it dead weight like the rocks in the story. Life becomes a burden. Conscience and ethics go together. Conscience and ethics go together. A teacher gave an exam to her class. As she began to read the correct answers for the students to mark their answers. One of the examinees changed an answer further down in the paper. It occurred to him that the teacher might think he had changed an answer the teacher had just given. He raised his hand and asked the teacher what he should do about changing answers after the teacher had started reading the correct ones. The teacher replied, "Let your conscience be the guide." Conscience is a direction prior to an action. It acts not just as a guide, but also as a brake. It is a fence, not just a path. Conscience is the guiding lamp that makes us do the right thing simply because it is the right thing to do, irrespective of personal ends. As per the thoughts of Mahatma Gandhi, the only tyrant I accept in this world is the still voice within. What is loyalty? There is an ancient tale from India. King Yudhishthira, a brave and just king, decided that he had spent enough time on the earth and was now ready for heaven. His wife Draupadi and his 4 brothers accompanied him. A dog followed them faithfully. The journey was long and difficult, and by the time Yudhishthira arrived at the gates of heaven, his wife and brothers had fallen by the way. He was invited to walk through the gates, but Yudhishthira refused to enter heaven without his family. Lord Indra then explained that his family had already arrived and awaited him inside. Yudhishthira was on the verge of accepting the invitation when he realized that the dog was not permitted to accompany him past the main gate. Yudhishthira was determined not to desert a living creature that had followed him such loyalty. Lord Indra could not believe that Yudhishthira was refusing heaven for a mere dog. When asked to explain his decision, Yudhishthira replied that he could not betray the faithful and loyal dog that had followed him all the way. The gods were pleased with his reply. The gods were pleased with his reply. As it turned out, it was no ordinary dog, but Dharma himself, who had wanted to test Yudhishthira. Loyalty breeds loyalty. Loyalty is the hallmark of strong character. In the same way as a tree is as strong as its roots, loyalty calls for readiness to sacrifice. It is the most important quality one looks for in one family, spouse, friends, employers, and employees. A sense of loyalty in all relationships generates a sense of loyalty. In all relationships generates a sense of belonging. Loyalty is an attitude as well as an action. It survives inconvenience and temptations. Whom do we owe loyalty to? We owe loyalty to our values. Where the value system between an individual and organization does not coincide, one cannot work in the same organization. Either we change our value system or we change our organization. Not only that, where the value system does not coincide within the family, we cannot live together. Either we change our value system or we change our family. Individuals and organizations are perishable, whereas value-based codes of conduct are everlasting. External benchmarks, the 10 commandments are commandments and not suggestions. Therefore, clear benchmarks on ethical behavior. Some of the 10 commandments are: don't steal, don't cheat, don't give false witness, respect your parents. Their universal appeal means that they have been respected and taught through all cultures, civilizations, and times of history. Rationalization. Some people think it is not really stealing if the theft would go unnoticed. or the other person has enough of it anyway. Taking things that don't belong to us without permission, even with the intention of replacing them before being found out, is stealing. Justification for stealing comes from the attitude that others exist for exploitation and to serve you. It is common practice that people take and keep things that do not belong to them and rationalize their behavior. Once at a grocery store, I purchased a packet of disposable razor priced at $7.95. As I was passing through the cash counter, a clerk scanned the razor and display read $11.95. Since I had carefully noted the price, I told the clerk that there was a mistake and that the price should be $7.95. He double checked his record and said, the correct price is $11.95. To resolve the issue, he called the manager who wanted to see where I had picked the razor from. After seeing where the razor was kept and had been tagged at $7.95, he verified his records and said that it was mistakenly put on the wrong rack. The correct price was $11.95. In spite of my offering to pay, since it was their mistake, he decided to give it to me complimentary. I thanked him and I narrated the incident at a social get together, and to my disappointment, the first reaction I got was, next time when I go to the store, I'll take an item which is sitting on a higher priced rack and put it on a lower priced rack and possibly get away by not paying. Is that honorable? Does this sound familiar? To some people, possession implies ownership just because I have it. It doesn't mean it's mine. By the same token, keeping extra change given mistakenly by a cashier or not paying for a dish that forgot to put on the bill seemed justified. A similar instance is of a young girl who told her friends that she got a pair of shorts for free because the clerk made a mistake due to oversight, and did not charge for it. She did not feel any obligation to pay. Her thinking was it was his fault, his mistake was my gain. Stealing is not only that you rob material goods, even the leaking of confidential information of the employer to a competitor is stealing. False advertising is another form of stealing. Besides embezzlement, another example of stealing is the taking home of office supplies without the knowledge of the employer. Doing personal work in company time is another kind of stealing. Similarly, not paying what is due to others in time is stealing. Just because the culprit is not easily identified for stealing, it does not absolve him of his responsibility. Allowing impressionable age children to watch inappropriate movie robs them of their innocence. That's stealing. If something is not earned, bought, gifted, or inherited, it is not yours. Similarly, what is kept in trust needs to be returned because it's not yours. The difference between borrowing and stealing is that borrowing implies consent and knowledge of the owner, and stealing does not. Is this honorable living? Can we live with ourselves? Mental toughness. If one of your loved ones was sick, would you want a doctor with character, dedication, discipline, mental toughness to do his best? Or would you want a doctor with equal qualification but lacking these qualities? Why a doctor? The same principles would apply to an attorney, a salesman, parent, teacher, manager, and so on. Nobody promised us an easy life. Life seems easy when the going is good, but often we have to perform our best when we are feeling our worst. The time to work even harder is when the chips are down and when you are sad, sick, and hurting. That requires mental toughness. Mental toughness is the ability to see the long term gains rather than be put off by short term pain. Once you have cultivated such toughness, you have gained the winning edge. Shun Fujimoto, Olympic gold medalist, gymnast, who performed in 1976 with a broken leg, said, "The pain shot through me like a knife, but now I have a gold medal and the pain is gone." Listeners, watchers, please wait. Leaders face challenges. It takes mental toughness to endure inner pain. You need to plan for the best, be prepared for the worst, expect surprises, but continue to move forward anyway. Leave your comfort zone. Mental strength lies in the ability to consciously place yourself in a vulnerable position. Taking risks and getting out of your comfort zone. The result is that you change your status from being a spectator to being a player. Mental toughness helps you make the right decisions, even though they may not be the most pleasant. Rudyard Kipling has explained it. If the poem is totally based on if, conditional. If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too, if you can wait and not be tired by waiting or being lied about, don't deal in lies, or being hated, don't give way to hating, and yet don't look too good nor talk too wise. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings, nor lose the common touch, if neither voice nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men count with you, but none too much, if you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it, and which is more, you will be a man, my son. Channel fear in the right direction. Fear is a natural body reaction in the face of danger. Fear is like fire. Under control, it is useful, but uncontrolled, it can destroy. Constantly living in fear leads to the loss of purpose of life. Real and imaginary fears can percolate through our thinking process and damage our personality. And anxiety also comes naturally when we see things are not going well for ourselves or for our loved ones. Such negative emotions may actually trigger positive reactions in our body which energize us and help us cope with the threat with either a fight or flight response. Regardless of the outcome, terrifying situations can be learning experiences that prepare us for the future. If we give in mindlessly to fear, we lose even before we have begun. Soldiers are taught to expect fear to grip their hearts and are then trained to overcome it. It is the firmness of spirit that meets danger without fear. Commitment to honorable conduct. A doctor takes the Hippocratic oath. A legislator takes an oath to uphold the constitution and serve the people. A judge takes an oath to uphold justice. A lawyer pledges to a code of conduct. A police officer takes an oath to uphold the law. The underlying value of each oath rests on foundation of ethics and morality. The common thread of integrity and fair play runs through each of them. Only a fair person can deliver justice, which can be defined as truth in action. Implementing justice takes both courage and competence. There are three traits we need to imbibe to live with honor. One is character, two is courage, three is competence. Character and competence is equal to clarity and confidence. Clarity and confidence is equal to honorable living. If any one of these three is missing, honorable living is endangered. What good is character if we do not have the courage to implement it? And what good is courage if we do not know what and how to implement it? And finally, what good is competence without the first two? Integrity and justice without courage is useless. Just as courage without integrity and justice is oppression. An honorable person is bold but not a bully, humble but not apologetic, confident but not conceited, proud but not arrogant, tender but not weak, strong but not rude, firm but not stubborn, cool but not cold, in love with life but ready to die, content but not complacent, detached but not indifferent, wise but not otherwise. Inculcating honesty, loyalty, compassion, humility, and commitment in our lives brings happiness and harmony. Even love for our family can only be complete when we follow a well defined code of values. A child can turn into a burden or a blessing depending upon the values that have been imbibed. Good character involves identifying, believing, and practicing good behavior. Good behavior stems from moral values which, through effort and practice, become ingrained in a person. Build me a son. Build me a son, O Lord, who will be strong enough to know when he is weak and brave enough to face himself when he is afraid. One who will be proud and unbending in honest defeat and humble and gentle in victory. Build me a son whose wishbone will not be where his backbone should be, A son who will know thee, and that to know himself is the foundation stone of knowledge. Lead him, I pray, not in the path of ease and comfort, but under stress and suffer of difficulties and challenge. Here, let him learn to stand up in the storm. Here, let him learn compassion for those who fail. Build me a son whose heart will be clear, whose goal will be high. A son who will master himself before he seeks to master other men. One who will learn to laugh yet never forget how to weep. One who will reach into the future yet never forget the past. And after all these things are his, add, I pray, enough of sense of humor so that he may always be serious, yet never takes himself too seriously. Give him humility so that he may always remember the simplicity of true greatness, the open mind of wisdom, the meekness of true strength. Then I, his father, will dare to whisper, I have not lived in vain. Dear friends, action plan says one is identify three values that you would to want to live by. Two is practice them consciously for 21 days in three areas of your life. One is family, two is work, three is society. Next, number three, share these values with someone close to you in order to reinforce and crystallize your own values. Setting a clear value-based code of model behavior. Communicating the code of communicating the code to all concerned in absolute clarity. Ensuring that the ethical code is enforced. Recognize and reward ethical behavior. Ensuring that term and short-term gains do not jeopardize long-term ethical objectives. Disciplining unethical conduct, setting up role models, developing a sense of pride in maintaining ethical standards. Dear friends, grace under fire, firmness of spirit, courage finds its own way. Heaven never helps the man who will not act. As for the thoughts of Sophocles, there was an old farmer who, in spite of having suffered many setbacks in his life, always looked happy and cheerful. One day, his friend asked, how do you manage to keep your sense of humor in spite of such setbacks? The farmer, with a sparkle in his eyes, said, it is not difficult. You just need to learn to cooperate with the inevitable. There is an old saying, when future throws a dog, when future, when nature throws a dagger at you, There are only two ways to catch it, either by the blade or by the handle. Living with courage means to catch the dagger by the handle and use it as a tool to our advantage. Courage empowers. It is a tremendous tool when used constructively. Courage gives us the ability to be assertive and resist being paralyzed. Lack of courage destroys our ability to act. We are turned into bodies that walk, talk, and breathe but remain spiritually dead. Courage is living by one's own values. It is moving forward with the belief that your actions are worthwhile. Courageous people always believe that something inside them is superior to their external circumstances. The difference between getting somewhere and reaching nowhere in life is courage. Courage demands taking risk, venturing into the unknown, facing obstacles, opposition, embarrassments, and criticism with confidence. The many dimensions of courage: courage to dream, courage to show grace in victory, courage to teach, courage to confront, courage to show anger, courage of conviction, courage to speak out, courage to judge, courage to love. On the other hand, courage to face reality, courage to maintain honor in defeat, courage to learn, courage to be confronted, courage to apologize, courage to challenge our false conviction, courage to listen, courage to forgive, courage to face rejection. Small acts of courage gradually get strengthened to result in great acts of courage. CQ, that is courage quotient, has become equally important as IQ and EQ. Endurance and bravery in the face of hostility are the hallmarks of courage. Andrew Jackson says, one man with courage makes a majority. What is true courage? Courage is another name for the ability to face criticism. It is easy to rationalize problematic behavior. However, we need courage to challenge our self-limiting beliefs, face cynicism, false convictions, inflated egos, and excuses. It takes the courage of a soldier to live honorably. No matter what a person does, there will always be critics, and the critics sometimes may be very convincing. True courage is what it takes to stand firm when you stand alone. Abraham Lincoln demonstrated courageous leadership by signing the Emancipation Proclamation even when he faced lack of consensus. True courage is also practicing integrity and honesty with ourselves and with those around us. It is the ability to decide when to advance or retreat on the basis of our belief system. Beware of false courage that comes out of vanity. Real courage is demonstrated in behavior and not words. The dangerous people are not the ones who openly disagree with you, but the ones who disagree and are too cowardly to let you know. Moral courage is rooted in values and results in conviction. Faith gives strength, but doubts lead to weakness. Courageous people face trying situations with wisdom to preserve honor, whereas cowards are inclined to take the crooked path. There is a story from ancient times about a mean moneylender who had lent money to a trader because of setbacks one after the other. The trader was unable to pay. The trader had a pretty young daughter, and the devious moneylender had his eyes on her. To show his devious helpfulness, he suggested that if the trader would agree to his marrying the young girl, he would forgive the debt or else hell would break loose. Both the trader and the daughter were in a fix. The moneylender pretended to be generous to proposing let let fate decide. He proposed that he would put a black pebble and a white pebble into an empty bag, and the girl would pick one pebble, and if she picked the black pebble, she would have to marry him and the father's debt would be forgiven. But if she chose the white pebble, she would not have to marry him and the debt would still be forgotten. The daughter was not just pretty, but also very intelligent. She didn't want her father to go to jail. She agreed to the proposition. The day came when the whole village collected to see the fate of the trader and his daughter. They were standing on the bank of the river full of pebbles. The moneylender stooped down to pick up the two pebbles, making sure nobody was noticing. He picked two black pebbles so that he could make sure he married the girl quietly. The sharp eyes of the girl were also watching. The girl was then asked to pick one pebble upon which her and her father's fate rested. Supposing you were one of the spectators at this happening. One is, what would you have done? Two is, what would you advise the girl to do? Three is, how would you handle the situation? Four is, what are the girl's choices? She could not expose the money lenders by asking him to show both the pebbles. She could refuse and sacrifice her father. She could take a black pebble and sacrifice herself to save her father. The choices aren't easy. It was either her life or her father's life, and she was not prepared to sacrifice anyone, and more so her father's. Here is what the girl did. She put her hand in the bag and picked one pebble, knowing full well that they were both black. She was the only one who had seen, but the moneylender had done. As she pulled her hand out of the bag without looking at the pebble, she on purpose lost her balance, fell on the ground and dropped the pebble. It got mixed up with others, so nobody could see what color it was. She got up, apologized for her clumsiness, and said, "Let's check what color pebble is in the bag. That will tell us which one I picked." The pebbles in the bag was of color. The pebble in the bag was of course black. It was assumed that the one she had picked was white. In front of the whole village, the moneylender did not have the guts to accept his dishonesty. He had to live with his decision, and both the father and the daughter went free. Her action was guided by the motivation to preserve honor. Her on the spot decision showed that wisdom is nothing more than timely application of common sense. Those who love freedom are willing to accept the challenge of life so that they can live with respect and dignity. Men of principle are bold, but not all bold people are men of principles. We often do things either to gain pleasure or to avoid pain. Moral cowards don't have the courage to pay the price to defend their beliefs. Courage lies not in accepting conditions blindly, but in daring to face the consequences. The ability to believe in yourself when everyone has given up on you is a sign of courage. You know that you are vulnerable and yet you endure. Your faith is yourself helps turn dreams into reality. A great example in history is that of Galileo. Galileo, at the age of 26, became a professor of mathematics at the University of Pisa. 400 years earlier, people accepted all the ancient theories without questioning them, and the ancient Greek philosopher Aristotle was considered the greatest of all authorities. Questioning his theories and considered disrespectful, Galileo proved that weight has nothing to do with how fast objects fall. The rate of descent of an object depends on the resistance of air. This went against Aristotle's theory. Even though Galileo was able to demonstrate his theory, people chose not to believe him. They were afraid that discrediting one of the Aristotle's principles may lead to his other principles being proved wrong too, and this made them feel threatened. No one came forward in support of Galileo, but the great scientist did not lose faith in himself. He stood his ground. He stood his ground, and in time, his theory met with both approval and acclaim. Dear friends, what a mind-blowing words you are listening. May God bless all of you. It's nice time, nice place, nice section. Early in the morning is the best time for speaking, reading, writing, listening English. It will make you able to speak, read, write correctly and naturally. Thanks to see all of you. Nice to talk to you. Thank you.